Welcome back to Recliner Sports Report's Knockout Bets podcast. I'm Mac, and with me I have Andrew, and
What's up, everybody?
We are here to bring you our thoughts and picks on who is going to win this upcoming card, UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Daukaus at the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. Shout out Columbus, Ohio, Robbie Purdy out there. If you're looking for a Chrysler, Dodge, or Jeep, visit him over in Marion, Ohio. That's Robbie Purdy. He'll get you a new vehicle right away. Before we get into this weekend's card, Andrew, give us a quick recap on how we did this past weekend.
Dude, betting-wise this weekend, we both did very, very well. We were just talking before we came on the show. I was up 10 units this week, and I think you doubled me up even on that. You were plus 20 this week, so we did very, very well. The big hits for me last weekend were a couple of submissions. I had Aspinall by submission and Paul Craig by submission.
Dude, that Aspinall submission pick, that's a good one right there. That was
that was plus 1,000.
Day of too. We were just looking at some lines. Heck yeah.
Yeah, that was plus 1,000, and that was really solid. I couldn't believe the bookie gave me plus 450 on a Paul Craig sub, but that one came through too.
Yeah, that was nuts. If anything, it was like the fight was either going to go the other way or Paul Craig was going to get submission.
Yeah.
So
I think that was FanDuel that had it plus 450. And
thank you, FanDuel.
Take that line anytime on Paul Craig against anybody.
It's literally a coin flip. You know what I'm saying? You get better odds on that than you do at roulette. Yeah, I went up plus 20 units this week. I had a huge week. Again, a lot of that had to do with Patty the Batty for sure. But I also hit, and again, this never happens, but I hit 2 different parlays this weekend, which is a big reason why I went up so high. And I needed it too. I went to Atlantic City a little earlier in the week. Didn't do too hot, so I needed a good sports betting week.
Hey, well, you got it.
But yeah, I hit for plus 600. I had a parlay of 5-fighter parlay, which again, super crazy. I don't even remember the last time I've hit a 5-fighter. But we had Aspinall, Patty, Topuria, Jack Shore, and Molly McCann. 5-fighter ended up being plus 600. Smacked that all around. And then my other one was, and I had mentioned this one on the podcast last week, the UK parlay, a good little Molly, Patty, and Tom there. And I also had Pat. I know I said Patty by knockout, and I was riding that. And I really do believe that he could have gotten a knockout. But I did before the fight went off, still in the prelims. I found a line for just first round finish, and I got that at plus 120 odds. So I threw,
Nice.
I threw 2 units on that. So that was a big time hit for
Solid
me.
too.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, like you said, definitely. Again, like gambling, it rides its ups and its downs. We got lucky. It was a good week for us. But
yeah.
We did have
How'd
a few
we do
letdowns
on picks this week?
Yeah, I was just gonna say we did have a few letdowns. So why don't you go talk us first about give us how many picks you got right and wrong this week, and then what your biggest letdown was.
Yeah, so I had 3 wrong on the card, so I believe that makes me 9-3 for the whole card, just picks wise. I had Jack Shore wrong. I now buy the hype on Jack Shore. He's for real. He's a real dude. He's going to be a problem. He passed a big test against Valiev and did it impressively. So I'm buying the hype now. I might not have been sold before that fight, but all in now with that one. Elise Reed, we both got wrong. I'm kicking myself on that one because I mentioned on the podcast last week, her around plus 200 was a little tempting. I didn't end up getting to the book with that one and putting the bet in, and that one passed me by. The other one was Dan Hooker. We talked about him on our recap show quite a bit. Dude, made 145. Credit to Arnold Allen, too. It wasn't just the Dan Hooker flop. Arnold Allen's a good fighter, but Dan Hooker did not look good at 145, did not look good in that fight. So that was a bit of a letdown. Want to see him go back up to 155 and fight where he should.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. That was my letdown, Dan Hooker, and mostly because I just hope that he's good and he's okay and we can get him bouncing back. I think that guy just needs to take some time to heal, and then he needs to get, like you said, back up to 155. Again, I don't even know if that's the spot for him, but it's definitely not 145. And then for me, same. I missed on Reed. I missed on Hooker, and then my third one was Grundy, which kind of uh, knew it could happen. I just didn't think it was going to happen that quickly. That fight was over before I even blinked.
That was
So
Marquand's one path was the early finish.
yeah, and he did it. So, but yeah. So overall, though, like you said, 9-3. We'll take our wins when we can have them. If you followed us at all, keep the change. And like we always say, as we move on here, we're confident in our picks. We like our picks. We'll take our picks, but always bet responsibly. Do your own research, track your own bets, and definitely bet responsibly. Any final words on last weekend's card? Besides, and if you are looking for our full recap, it's on YouTube. Again, follow us on YouTube, Recliner Sports Report. Smash that like, smash that subscribe. But we did get to try out the recovery room over in East Greenbush, New York. We got to chow down on some wings and some pulled pork mac and cheese, and had some good tasty beverages. But you can check out our full thoughts on last weekend's UFC Fight Night London, in that video. So again, check us out over on YouTube, Recliner Sports Report. All right.
Yeah, last thoughts on that one is what Tom Aspinall did was incredibly impressive, showed himself to be a real dude. And we're not even talking about him. Most people are walking away from that card talking about Patty and Molly, and that's just so fun. They're both so fun.
Yeah.
They're
Two little
fun to
kids.
watch in
Love
the
it.
cage, fun to watch out
Yeah.
of the cage. Man, I hope they keep winning, keep having fun, keep having fights in
Just two
England.
kids having some fun. That's all it is over there. And yeah, I agree. I think Tom and Tui have flipped the heavyweight division on top of its head, and they are just their paths are going to crash. I know Aspinall called them out. I think it's going to crash and happen sooner than we think. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to know what's next with those two because they're just going and doing everything that the bookies don't think that's going to happen, and they have now caused a big ruckus in that heavyweight division and left a lot of unknowns going on. Besides the one known is we do know Ngannou's up there and he is the king. But I think all this
And Ngannou can wrestle now.
Yeah,
That's just scary.
and we were kind of talking about it. It's like honestly, it's all kind of good that all this stuff, it's crazy stuff is happening because it's gonna give him some time to come back from his surgery that he had. So rest up, King. We hope you're doing okay, by the way. And then it's also going to allow some time for these other big boys to sort each other out to see who's in line next to fight and get the title shot against Ngannou. Awesome. So that was our highlights from last week. Let's go ahead, jump right on into it. We have UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Daukaus again at the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio.
Fans in the stands is always fun.
Oh man, I tell you what, and again, I think London yesterday or last week, London showed how great having a big fan base is and how much the fans want to see the UFC and how much they want to be in person for these fights. Again, I think Dana White's been just a true soldier in this whole entire thing since COVID happened on making sure that we can still keep sporting events. So I understand he's definitely been playing by the rules, but I think even he's ready to start getting back to what we were doing. he's shown that he can follow all the rules. But I tell you what, like you said, I'm glad fans are in the stands. I'm glad Columbus, Ohio is going to be able to see this stuff. Columbus, Ohio is a great city. Lots of cool things going on. I always call it the less crowded New York. I think there's lots of cool stuff going on there. I love the people in there. Yeah, it's all around going to be, I think, great one. So the first fight of the night, we have a featherweight bout. We got Luis Saldana, 15-7 versus Bruno Souza, 10-2. Andrew, what are our thoughts here on this one?
Yeah, so Saldana flows really well on the feet. He mixes his striking well. He's got strong kicks, especially to the body. He throws a little bit of too much spinning fancy stuff that can get you in trouble sometimes, and he does have gas tank issues. He gassed in his last fight against Austin Lingo, and he's gassed previously in other fights, and so that's a little bit of a question mark with him as the fight goes deeper. He's also a little bit hittable. As much as he flows well on the feet, his head and his chin are out there to be able to get touched. He's definitely a striker primarily, but he does have 8 wins by submission on his record, so he's no slouch on the ground. He's got decent jiu-jitsu.
Actually,
Souza,
on that, he's got, of his 15 wins, 14 of them are finishes.
Correct. 6 by knockout and 8 submissions.
Yeah.
So he's a finisher. Souza's got a karate background. He has that wide karate stance. He has a win over Kamawala Kirk not that long ago. It was in 2020. So that's a quality win for a guy who's 0-1 in the UFC. But I don't think you can discount him too much from that one loss. It was against Melsik Bagdasaryan, who's just an absolute killer. Souza came into that fight on short notice. And so I think that's one of those ones that you talk about that you can kind of crumple that one and throw it out.
Right.
I'm having a tough time finding a betting angle on this fight so far. My pick is going to be Saldana. I think that he can chop the leg of Souza to stop his movement a little bit.
I literally have it right here. Kicks.
Yeah.
Kicks.
Yep.
Kicks. And
kicks
there's
to
a
the
lot
leg, kicks
of
to the
fighters.
body.
There's a lot of fighter on these cards that I have that down as key to victory, but for Luis, I agree with you. Kicks.
Yep. Kicks to the leg and kicks to the body is definitely his key to me in this one. I think it's probably going to play out mostly on the feet for both guys. If it does go to the mat, I think Saldana has a small advantage, but I don't see that as the most likely thing to happen. I think it's going to be a very, very close, tight fight. I can definitely see it going either way. I don't have a bet on it yet. I don't know that I'll end up with a bet on it, but my pick for the show is going to be Saldana.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on the pick, and I'm agreeing with you on the info. Just some stats for everyone to look at here. Both are pretty evenly on the significant strikes landed per minute. Saldana's got about 4.6, and Bruno's at about 3.7. Accuracy is pretty similar. We're looking at Saldana 50% and Souza as at 40%. But when we talk about the little advantages that, Bruno should have on the ground, where Luis is just as good himself. I look in, like, with the takedown averages, the numbers weren't even like, they weren't comparable because they were both very, very close to each other. But the one that stuck out to me was the defense. Luis Saldana's got 61% on his defense, and Bruno's only got 39. So again, just something to look at, like you were saying, like when you look and you think about, Souza's background, he does have some Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but I agree. I think both of these guys this is going to be a striking match. I think both of these guys are gonna try to keep this on the feet, but I think the person who can mix in the level changes at the right time and mix in the ground game, because I do see this one going to the scorecard if Luis can't get a finish, but because for me, what if this is going to the scorecard, I'm starting to lean a little bit towards Bruno, because I really am a little bit worried about the gas tank for Luis here. but we'll see. I think whoever can use their weight and whoever can mix in takedowns at the right time to make the judges, again, see the
Can win
dominant.
you
Yeah,
around.
yep. I think that's gonna to go down to it, but I do see this playing on the feet. I do see this as Saldana on winning this. I know he hurt his foot his last fight, and I think that messed with his gas tank a little bit.
Also
So
short notice
yeah,
too.
so I hope he's all healed up. I do like his striking though. I do think he's a real slick striker. And like you said, he keeps the low hands ready for good counters. He great at kicking. I think he just needs to stick to his game plan. Try not to try to keep his own gas take in check, and I think he'll walk away with a victory here. I agree with you. I haven't bet this one yet, and I don't know yet how I'm going to bet it. Again, with minus 125, you're not looking at much return on risk reward there. But I'm feeling confident enough that Luis is going to win this, and I'm going to try to work it into something. I haven't picked it up yet. Plus, there's been so many changes of orders of the card and fight of the card. There's been a lot of things that have gone on with this card. Like I usually say, I'll wait till weigh-ins, see what's going on, figure it out from there. He's one of those fights where I haven't confidently slammed a bet on it yet. So, all right, moving right along, we have a flyweight bout. We got Mateus Nicolau, 17-3, versus David Dvorak, 20-3. I'm excited for this one. I'm really excited for David Dvorak. Andrew, talk to me what you got for this one.
Absolutely. With all the shuffling that's gone on this card, and maybe there's more shuffling to come as the week goes on, the way this card lays out, this fight should not be the second fight of the night. This fight definitely deserves to be higher up on the card.
Yeah, number
Both
8 versus
guys,
number 10 in that division. This is like, and this is for
and
movement.
both guys on win streaks.
Yeah.
Both guys very high level. This deserves to be higher on this card for sure. Dvorak's coming in. He has 8 wins by knockout, 8 wins by sub. A little interesting fact about him is he's a former professional chess player. So professional chess player who's now a really, really high level MMA fighter. So he's coming with the mental game. He's 3-0 in the UFC, hasn't lost an MMA fight since 2012, so nearly 10 years that he hasn't lost a fight. He was 19 years old the last time he won a fight, or last time he lost a fight, rather, that is. He's got fast hands. He's got really good counters, super technical and solid on the feet, throws good combinations, mixes in kicks well, good submissions, pressures forward, solid kicks, showed really solid takedown defense in his fight against Bruno Silva. That was 2 fights ago, I believe. That's a key for him in this one, is for the takedown defense to be able to hold up against Nicolau. Nicolau has very, very good jiu-jitsu. His power is a question mark for me a little bit. He's a primary grappler and very, very good at it. A little bit funky on the feet, but throws very heavy shots and also counters well. It's going to be interesting to see who leads the dance in this fight, because both guys counter-strike very well. Nicolau has a very solid win over Tim Elliott. He also has beaten Manel Kape, so he's got some good wins on his record. That being said, I just think that while this is a very, very close fight, I think Dvorak is a little bit better everywhere, no matter where the fight goes. Even as good as Nicolau is on the ground, I think Dvorak's a touch better. I think Dvorak has a very clear advantage if this fight stays on the feet, and I think he's going to use his takedown defense to make the fight be able to stay on the feet for the most part. I already have a bet on Dvorak. I took him at minus 135. I put 1.35 units to win 1, so solid pick already in there.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on the fact that this fight is crazy, that it's just the second fight of the night. And again, we do have a lot of good fights going on. It just also kind of sets the bar for the whole card. But I'm going with Dvorak too. I think, looking at some of his film, I was really impressed. His first round submission against Juan Juan Carlos Ronderos. That was again, super dominant victory. It just shows that this, like you said, he's got 16 fights. Only 3 have been in the UFC. So, I understand that. But, again, he's fought some good dudes in that division already, and he's moved right up to 10. I think this is his next good step right here. I like you said, I do think that Nicolau's got definitely a couple other guys under his belt with some bigger names. One again being Tim Elliott. Where what I was seeing though, and I know he beat Tim Elliott, but Tim really fought a good fight that fight, and
It was a close fight.
showed once again why he is such a hard person to fight and try to figure out. And what I saw for Nicolau was a little bit of a weakness, is that like because he was spent so much time trying to figure out Tim, he actually went off his own game, and I didn't really think he looked that great. Again, I guess we can say he did enough to win. I think it was that late that late takedown.
Yeah, there was the
really,
classic Tim Elliott trying to throw subs up off his back that
yeah,
gets him in trouble in fights.
and I think that's why he walked away with that victory. Again, we were talking about it earlier. When you got to try to make it look good for the judges' scorecard, I think that seals the deal. But like,
Or just
I
stall. I think
yeah,
there's
I
more
think
stalling at that point. But
I think David though is not going to let up on the pressure, and I think Tim, again, as much as he's throwing and doing stuff, he also takes his times and feels people out too. I don't think David's going to wait. I think like you were saying, it's going to be interesting to see who leads the dance. From what I've watched with Mateus, he's never really applied the pressure. He's always been a
he
good
does
counter
fight
striker.
going backwards a
Yeah,
lot.
and I think David's not afraid to take a shot, so he's going to go in, get a little dirty. I do think he needs to keep it on the feet. Looking at some of these guys and again, I know Dvorak's got eight submissions, so it's not like he doesn't know what he's doing. I do just think that Mateus is going to have the advantage there. He definitely has the advantage on the takedown defense. And again, I think this stat was a little skewed, but it is showing that Dvorak has 0 takedowns. That's his average, and we got
It's in 3
1.75.
fights, probably.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's
1.75 over on the other side, so a little bit skewed. That's why I went more on just the takedown defense. I think that was a little bit more accurate representation there. And then when you look at the striking, yeah, David's got a slight advantage there. I think another thing to note too is both these guys absorb a lot of shots. So both their averages are like 3.2, 3.1. So it's pretty close there. So they take some damage too. But that's why I was saying I think David can take a little more, and I think he's not afraid to get in there and just apply the pressure, which is what he needs to do. Now, for Mateus to win, I think he needs to mix in some level changes, and I think he needs to get this to the mat. But we'll see. We'll see what he does, because I thought that's what he should have done the whole entire time against Tim Elliott, and that was just honestly, it was just a weird fight to watch. What I'm saying, like you would have thought he would have put more on the game plan of trying to control the cage, but like we both know, I respecting Tim trying to throw up some crazy submissions off his back and respecting that, I just felt like he could have been more dominant, and he wasn't. He still got the win. But again, I think he could have put a clear stamp in if he would have done something else. I'm definitely going Dvorak. I like him a lot. I also I'm a fan of the odds I'm getting him at. I see right now he's sitting at like minus 135 for me on that's, I'm getting that through ESPN right now. That for me, I also seen him. He was minus 140 earlier when I was doing my stuff on Sunday. So I like that line. That's good enough for me to bet a couple units on that just by itself. I feel really confident with that one. I also like his name, The Undertaker. That's another reason I like that a lot. So
there you go. I'm glad we're on the same side. I've already locked in that bet. Sounds like you're gonna get there too. So that's a good one.
All right. That was Mateus Nicolau and David Dvorak in a flyweight matchup for fight number 2 of the night. Fight number 3 is the one that this was like my Patty fight last week. This is the one that I am most excited for on the whole card, and it's because it's been so long since we've seen her fight. Manon Fiorot versus Jennifer Maia. Manon Fiorot is 8-1. And Jennifer is 19-8. This is the women's flyweight division. Go ahead, Andrew. Start us off. What's your first opinions on this one?
Yeah. So like you said, Manon Fiorot's 8-1. Her first loss was to Leah McCourt, who's now a very solid fighter in Bellator. That was a knockdown, drag-out fight. Very, very close fight in her first professional fight. So, and not necessarily a terrible loss, even though it was a while ago and a lot changes since then. Manon Fiorot, she's 32 years old. So everybody's calling her a prospect because she's on the come up, but she's not exactly young. But she is very exciting. She is on her way to the top of the division. She is coming up against her biggest test to date with Jennifer Maia, and I think she is going to run right through her and win the fight. Manon has 6 KO TKO wins in her 8 wins professionally. You don't see that a lot among women's MMA fighters to have that many knockouts. She's got a karate background, black belt there. She went 12-0 in Muay Thai before she switched to fighting MMA. One of the most impressive things to me about her is everybody says, oh, take her down, take her down. I think Manon Fiorot has very underrated wrestling compared to what everybody gives her credit for. She throws good combinations. Jennifer Maia is a very strong grappler. However, Jennifer Maia doesn't have the best takedowns. And so if she gets on the ground, she's good at scrambling, good at reversing position, good at submissions, but she's not good at getting it to the ground. And Manon is just one of these women who she's just built different. She's so fast with the hands. She's so incredibly strong. She's just a different breed. And I think she keeps this one on the feet. I don't know if she gets the finish. Jennifer Maia is really, really tough. And this is a big step up in competition for Manon. But I think Manon wins and probably wins pretty easily, something like a 30-27 decision.
I agree with you. Everything except for the finish. The beast, Manon Fiorot. I think that this girl is. Ever since I still remember it was when the UFC had the Wednesday fight card. Do you remember that last year?
I
It was
do,
it was
yeah.
in like January last year. Her win over
That was
Victoria
when
Renardo.
Kamzat fought like twice in 10 days or something like
Yep,
that, wasn't
yep.
it?
It
Yeah,
was epic. I remember sitting there watching that fight, and I remember you were kind of this was when you were like, "Hey, this one's excited to like keep an eye out
she's a
for her." Yeah,
prospect.
she's a
Yeah,
prospect. And I was like, all right, cool. I will watch. And I was just like, wow, this girl's the real deal. I love everything about her. She's flying through this division at a rapid pace, and it only makes sense that she's going after the number 4 person right now when she's sitting there down at number 13. Um, when you look at the stats, okay, they're pretty equal on everything. And when you were saying when you're trying to look for an advantage for Maia, the advantage should be on the ground, right? But then you look at her last fight against Shigorian, and she was dominated on the ground the whole time. And again, like you said, everyone talks about how good of a striker Manon Fiorot is, but you know her fight over Bueno Silva, you know, she also mixed in some wrestling when she needed to there. So you look at that and you're like, all right, what I think Manon's key to victory is keep it on the feet for sure, because she's definitely going to be able to outstrike. I feel she needs to
easily.
up the volume, like super volume. I think I was looking at same thing, like over anytime she's around over like 200 strikes. It's again same thing. It's like that's her jam. I think if she can keep her on her feet, mix in the level changes when they open up. Again, I wouldn't live and die by the takedowns, but I feel like Jennifer Maia is going to try to take a shot or open up and leave her body open for a takedown. I think Maia just needs to get down there, get a little bit of ground control time, then get up and get out. You know what I'm saying? I don't think she needs to spend a lot of time down there, but I do think if the shots open up, pop in one, take her down, pop back up. But I'm not hoping that's how this fight goes. All right, I don't think it's gonna. I think Maia's had a nice little break. Her last fight was in October. I think she was not happy that it broke her KO streak. All right, she had a nice little KO streak going before that. I think she's ready to get back on the KO train. So I got this one as Maia Fiorot knockout, and possibly maybe my knockout pick of the week. Again, we'll make that call at the end, but she's up there for me for right now.
So I could tell you were trending that direction when you started talking. I popped it up. It's not on any American books that I can see at the moment, McMann by knockout, but it will be there later in the week. There is one book that I can see that has it up right now at plus 225 by knockout.
And if that's really what it's going to be come bet day, I'm throwing at least 2 units on that easy. That's an easy slam for me, for sure. Again,
I like it. I'm not going that far with you, but I like it.
I think Jennifer Maia is a great fighter. I just think Maia Fiorot is gonna outstrike her. And again, watching her last fight against Blaydes Silva, I'm shocked that she didn't put her away. You know, there were times where Maia was just teeing off and Silva was just taking it. It almost looked like Silva the whole fight just was trying not to get knocked out.
It did seem a bit like that.
You know what I'm saying? Like that whole first round, she had her hands up like this the whole time. And it's like, okay, yeah, like you're in the fight, you're going the distance, but you just were trying not to get knocked out.
Losing a decision.
Yeah. I don't think Jennifer is going to fight like that. I think she's going to try to be aggressive. I think Mannon's really good when people are like that. I think she's great.
That's a good point. I like that.
I think that she is going to leave her body open. Again, I think Jennifer Maia is coming in with the same thing too. I think she wants to have a finish too. I think she wants to she wants to prove again why I'm number 4 and why are you putting me against a number 13 person. I don't think she's going to sit there and just take shots. I think she's going to try her own stuff too. Again, I think though she's just going to fall right into Fiorot's game plan, and I think she's going to be able to slip up and get her with one. All right, our next fight, which. This one, of all the fights that we're talking about tonight, this is the one that I'm excited about because of the person, but I don't even know. This has already changed twice since I've seen it. The current fight that is happening right now, when we are doing this, we're filming this on a Tuesday. We have the Black Wolf, Khizreiv versus Dennis Tiuluilin. Tiuluilin.
Good job with the names.
I butchered those, but I do tell you what I do know how to pronounce is the Black Wolf, and that's what I will be. That's what I'll be calling Khizreiv for the rest of this breakdown. The Black Wolves is a perfect 13-0 right now, and Dennis is coming in at 10-5. This is a middleweight bout. Talk to me, Andrew. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, there are a lot of big favorites on this card, and not necessarily always do I think this, but I think this is going to be a card where a lot of those favorites win. This is one of those spots where I think it's completely set up for Khizreiv. He's 13-0, has 8 finishes. He's only 5'9", which is a little bit short for the middleweight division. He throws strong body shots. He's got nasty ground and pound, really strong wrestling. He's one of these wrestlers from that part of the world where gets on top of you, really strong pressure grappling. Just a well-rounded guy. Tiuluilin, if I'm pronouncing his name right, I don't know if I am. He's coming in on short notice. He's 6'1", I can't find a reach listed for him anywhere, but if you go and watch
Yeah,
the couple
it's not
fights that
listed.
yeah, so he's coming into the UFC promotion for this fight on short notice.
He does have a
But
2-inch height advantage.
I think he's got more than that even. I think he's got 4. Um, but if you go watch the couple of fights, his Cage Warriors fight, and I forget what the other couple that I could find, it does look like he has a fairly long reach. He's a kickboxer. He has 8 knockouts in his 10 wins. He's 10-5. Some of his wins are over guys. He has a win over a guy whose record is 0-11. So not necessarily the most impressive wins, all of them. He basically is brought in to make the new prospect look good or to have a puncher's chance crazy KO. That's what he does. He knocks guys out or he probably loses. In this spot, I think he's outclassed, outmatched. I think Khizreiv wins. I think he probably wins pretty early, first or second round finish, whether it's a submission, whether it's ground and pound, whether it's even getting his own knockout. I think this one's a landslide for Khizreiv.
Yeah. Yeah, for both of these gentlemen making their UFC debut, and then looking back at some of their stats, you would be surprised to think that both of these men are making their UFC debuts here. Now, the Black Wolf did just come off a win against Shigemoto in Dana White's Contender Series, a wonderful submission win. But yeah, when I look at this, it's hard to tell because of the level of competition. But what I do like, I love Dana White Contender Series fighters, and the reason being is because they're there because there's people that get paid a lot of money to do their research on this, right? Better than us, and they put that fighter there for a reason because they believe that they're going to make a name for themselves in the UFC and they're going to bring in revenue and that they're going to be an exciting fighter. So when I see a guy on Dana White's Contender Series making their UFC debut, that means the boss man saw something, and I usually trust the boss man on that. This line
And
is
they've
crazy.
also won to get into the UFC too.
Yep.
They've beat another killer to get into
100%.
the promotion.
So the line is super wide. Probably going to pass. If anything, I'm definitely taking the Black Wolf. That's my pick. So start right there. That is my pick. I'm definitely taking the Black Wolf. But I'll probably pass. This is one of those trap bets for me where you throw in, and I'm actually kind of glad that it's happening earlier in the card because what I may do is try to do like a first 4 parlay where I just try to pick all 4 right off the rip, and then that's my finisher because again it's a minus 500. But I won't be putting a lot of units on that. That's like one of those throw like point 1 unit on that and just try to hope that it hits. If not, it's no money lost. It's whatever. But yeah, I'm definitely not touching anything outside or just throwing him in at the end of parlays just to give a little bit of weight to it, but nothing, not putting a lot of, there will not be a lot of investments on the Black Wolf, but I do think he will win. If anything, maybe a finish, like what his finish odds are. I may look into that. But even with that, I don't know. He's 5-4 on his finishes. So is he going to submit him, knock him out? You don't know. And I don't think he's been consistent enough to make a pick. I think he has knockout power, but he's also shown that he's super, super great at getting a submission. So if I was doing a finish, I would have to just say win the fight by finish or do something like Patty, like we did with Patty last week, do a first round finish. That might be some better odds too. But
so even Khizreiv inside the distance is around minus 250.
Yeah,
I think
so
the level of competition is just so different here.
Yep.
I'm going a little bit different than you. I am throwing him in a bunch of parlays. I feel very, very confident that he's going to win. The only way I see him losing is if he gets starched by some kind of crazy punch. I think Tiuluilin has a puncher's chance, and that's about it.
Yeah.
anything other than a knockout, I think Khizreiv rolls pretty easily. I was trying to pop it up on my phone while you were talking. I didn't find it really quickly. I've already thrown him into at least one parlay. I did get a little bit better number than what's out there right now. I'm looking at best fight odds. I think the best number you can get on him now is around minus 500 up to minus 575. I can't remember off the top of my head what I got, but I think I got him around minus 350, which is a much, much better number in the one parlay I've thrown him into so far. Even at the minus 500, I still feel good about it in a parlay.
Yeah, no, dude. And you know what? Again, I'm glad you feel confident. I like I said, if I'm when I bet this match, he's the line I'm going on. And anytime I bet something, I really hope it wins because I wouldn't have bet on it. But like you kind of said, it's the puncher's chance. This is the UFC, and we have seen some crazy stuff happen. I still look back at the Nunes Pena fight. I remember, I remember right before that fight, us looking at each other and being like, "Man, should we have covered with Pena?" Because we both had
Not
minus
even that.
1,000,
All
minus
day before
1,000.
that,
Right? We
I
had
was
minus
telling you, this
1,000
is the
Nunes.
girl that has a chance to beat Amanda. This is the girl that has a chance. Like, I don't know. Like, and the one thing I did do is I think I had Amanda maybe in one parlay where I had like an 8-fight parlay or something like that. The one good thing I did do is I didn't bet Amanda hardly at all. I should have thrown something on Pena. Oh, that's one of my biggest gambling regrets right
Yep.
there is I just had a gut feeling that Pena has a good chance to win this fight. And I think I was telling you, I think I was looking for, like, if somebody will give me plus 500, then I'm going to take it. And I just didn't find the number, and I ended up putting a bet on it, and I kick myself to this day.
Yep. So every time I remember that. And that's, again, to that point, this may be something where if I am doing the 4-fighter right off the rip and I get to that point, I will definitely throw a live line on the other end on that to cover up for sure. But yeah, so again, I got the Black Wolf. That is the Black Wolf. We'll just go the Black Wolf versus Dennis in that middleweight matchup over at UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Daukaus. Next up is a bantamweight matchup in a tough division with lots of movement and lots of crazy things going on right now. And adding to that mix is two great fighters. We have Chris Gutierrez, 17-3 and 2, versus Danaa, 10-2. Both are tough fighters. The lines are very close right now when I think they're right about where they're at. But Andrew, talk to me. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So right off the jump, when I first looked at this card, I went, oh, there's a spot where I'm going to bet Danaa.
Yep.
And I even threw him into a quick parlay. I did a good job this week of getting some of my bets in early before the lines all shift around, even on like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the lines start to shift as people shift their focus away from the previous card and start looking forward to the next weekend. I'm kind of
mind you,
second
sorry to stop
guessing
there, but to
myself.
kind of like
Yeah.
explain what Andrew's talking about right there. Last week is a perfect example of like why getting bets in early sometimes is better with the odds, because you had someone like Patty who started off the week at like a minus 300 and he got bet all the way to like a minus 600 by the end of that week. So that's kind of what he's talking about when he says, getting in good lines early while the fights haven't been bet, because when you get big favorites like that, it's really known to really widen lines that shouldn't be that wide. But yeah, so that's what he's kind of talking about there, just in case anyone was wondering.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you have a mix of that, and sometimes you want to wait and, like you were talking about earlier, look at the weigh-ins. How much bigger is somebody than somebody else? Does somebody look good after making a weight cut or not? Those types of things. So it's a good mix of both that goes into how we place our bets. Right. What was I talking about? I was talking about, so right off the jump, I thought Batgirl. I'm kind of second guessing myself. I even put a bet in. I parlayed Batgirl with McMann and Fiorot, looking at the lines and saying these are going to get wider through the week. I want to get this bet in now. Then I did my homework, and now I'm second guessing myself on this fight. Batgirl is very, very impressive. He's got a kickboxing and BJJ background. He has 3 straight wins by knockout, and not just 3 straight wins by knockout, 3 straight wins by knockout in the first round. That's incredibly impressive. He's got heavy, heavy hands. He's an absolute banger, moves very well on the feet, pressures and goes forward. He does wing his shots a little bit. He throws a lot of hooks, but his winging shots and hooks, the way other guys or women kind of leave themselves out there and extended, and those winging shots aren't necessarily so accurate, that's not the case with him. His hooks and his winging shots are incredibly accurate, which is part of what makes him so good, part of what's gotten him 3 KO TKO finishes in the first round in a row. It's really, really interesting how those kind of winging hooks that he throws are so incredibly accurate and land to the target a good percentage of the time.
And they're so powerful. So powerful.
So powerful.
Because like you said, they're coming from a distance.
Right. And sometimes he's throwing all the way from the hip.
He's winding up.
Looping shot. Yeah, absolutely. And so he does, you would think that because he does that, he leaves himself open to getting hit, but he really doesn't get hit. He's got really good striking defense also. So it's like this really interesting puzzle for anybody who goes against him to have to solve. We haven't seen really much of his BJJ in the UFC. The one fight he had against Ty Lee, there was a little bit of grappling in that fight, but not even a ton there to really look at. Gutierrez, this guy just has close fights. He has on his record, I had to go through and count because I went, there's one. He has 6 split decisions in his career. In addition to that, he also has 2 draws. So he's fighting incredibly close fights. Whoever he's fighting against, whether it's somebody who's really good or somebody who's maybe not as good as he is, he fights to the level of his competition quite a bit, it seems. He's really known for his really strong leg kicks. He has 2 leg kick TKOs, which you don't see a whole lot of those. He's got solid wrestling. He's good on the feet. He also moves well. He's got good takedown defense. Not that I think he's going to need it in this fight. I don't see Batgirl going for a takedown at any point, but you never know. Solid jab, counters well. He's good in the clinch. Basically, all that is to say that what I see on tape from Gutierrez is his standout skill is definitely the leg kicks, and he's not amazing at anything else, but he's very good at everything. And against Batgirl, who has this incredible power, moves well, and strikes well, but there are a little bit of questions of how is he in the clinch, how is he on the ground. It gives me a little bit of pause. I'll just say that. So I already have a bet in on Batgirl in a parlay. I don't think I'm going to hedge it. I think I'm going to ride with what I have, but I'm definitely nervous about it.
Yeah. I think this fight's going to end one of 2 ways. I think it's going to end with a Batgirl KO, or it's going to go the distance, and Gutierrez is going to find a way to grind this one out and win.
I agree with you. I think if it goes all 3 rounds, I think Gutierrez has a very good chance.
Yeah. Also, shout out to El Guapo, Chris Gutierrez, Boston, Massachusetts, Boston Strong. I'm over in Peabody, Mass. So I'm right near Boston. So shout out to I love when I get all the Boston fighters. So definitely Boston Strong on that one. Definitely leaning towards more of why I'm taking Chris more than just the stats on these things. this is where one of those ones where we tell you don't bet with your heart. I'm going against that rule. I'm going with Chris Gutierrez. I just like his style, and why is I think this is the UFC putting someone who's making statements with first round knockouts against someone who's made a statement with going the distance, and they're saying, hey, you really got this power? All right, put it up against someone who's known to be able to take some shots and go some dirty fights. Like, Chris has survived some absolute wars. And now you're taking Chris and you're saying, okay, you've gone through some wars with people, but have you gone through some wars with people who can put you out with one punch? So I think it's a good test for Chris. I think it's a great challenge for Danaa. Again, I'm going with Chris here. And again, I don't think we're gonna see like a lot of level changing and takedowns from Chris. I do think if he's smart, he picks and chooses when he wants to. Again, I wouldn't live down there.
But even if he can put him against the fence
yeah,
and grind on him in dirty box and clinch and that kind of thing, that
yeah.
takes away that power.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And I think for Danaa, his keys to victory here is he just got to let those hands go, like he does, and he's got to put the shots in at the head, but he's got to protect his legs too. And I think Danaa's got a good stance though, so I don't think he's going to get too affected by the leg kicks. But Chris, he figures out a way to get those in. But I think his key to victory, Chris's, is kick, 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 kick. Chop down those legs, because the more the legs start getting taken down, the less power is going to be behind those punches. And Chris will be able to get the win again. I like you said, looking at a guy he knows how to go into deep waters. I think if this thing makes it out of the first round and Chris is alive, I'm going to start feeling really, really, really good.
So
Just
the way
because,
we're talking about
yeah,
this too, it feels like a good one possibly to live bet
yep,
between the first and second round, even if it seems like Danaa's won the first round, and especially in that case because you'll get a good live line on Gutierrez. Possibly betting it live line after the first round on Gutierrez might be a good spot.
yeah. I call that the good old college football betting, is watch a first half and get a good live line at the half. You have to be a
There you
little bit
go.
quicker with UFC, because the half times and the
Between rounds.
rounds are a lot shorter. But Andrew brings up a great point. Especially because, again, like I said, I could very easily see Chris losing round one, but gaining a lot of momentums in 2 and 3, and coming out with a win, because he knows he's an experienced fighter that knows how to seal a deal on the judges' scorecard. He's proven it time and time again. He knows how to do enough to win. Even his last fight, he got taken down late, and I thought that was it for him. But when he knew he couldn't stay down there, and when he got up, he ended with a flurry of punches that actually put Felipe Carreras, looked like he might have even knocked him out, which again, that means he knew that if he could do that, he could prove to the judges that he had it. And he didn't let Felipe do too much when he got taken down. So he's smart. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's smart with that, to know, all right, I'm on the ground here. I'm going to make it look like he's not doing anything. I'm going to take what I've in, but I'm going to work to my feet. And then I know I have to counter that takedown with a bunch of shots. And he's smart. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun fight. I do like it. Like I said, I think another reason why I'm going Gutierrez just because of the plus 130. I always love when I can get something of an underdog. But yeah,
I like your
Boston
point
strong, El Guapo.
too. It seems obvious, and this is why talking through these fights helps for both of us so much. But I really like the point that you made about Gutierrez. I mentioned is so good with the leg kicks, but that saps the power for a guy like Danaa, who's a knockout artist. You might be talking me into hedging that bet I already took on him. I'll have to see how this goes through the week, and I might even have to dig a little bit deeper than I have. With Danaa, I was easily able to go back and watch all his fights in the UFC because he has three first-round knockouts and one fight that went the distance.
Just real quick.
Yeah, Gutierrez, there's a lot more tape out there on him to watch. I haven't watched everything there is to watch on him, so might have to dig in a little deeper and see where I land with this one.
Well, like I said at the beginning, man, this fight's ending one or two ways, I think. and it's either going to be KO first round or it's Gutierrez is going to find a decision. But hey, Danaa's got knockout power, and there's nothing to hide about that. He's got it. He's shown it. He's proved it. So definitely a scary. I'm not saying here it's definitely 100% going to hit. Again, like I said, bet responsibly, track your own bets. But I like El Guapo. Let's go El Guapo, Boston Strong. Let's go. Well, that was our bantamweight matchup. Chris El Guapo Gutierrez versus Baccaral Danaa. Next up, we have a women's bantamweight. We got Sarah McMann, 12-6 versus Carol Rosa, 15-5. Andrew, go ahead. Give us, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, as I've mentioned, as we've hit a couple of them so far, there are a lot of big favorites that I think are just going to truck on this card. I think most of the big favorites on this card are they're obviously big favorites for a reason. The bookies think the same thing that everybody thinks, and I don't have any huge contrarian opinions on any of the widely lined fights on this card. And this is another one where I'm racking with the favorite. I've already locked the bet in because I think the line's going to move more and more as the week goes on. Rosa is my pick. I got her around minus 280, I think. I'm checking to see. No. Maybe I didn't get her around minus 280 because she's sitting around minus 220 right now, and I'm going to throw more money on her after this show at that line. Whatever I got her on, I've already locked a bet in. It might have been minus 240. I can't remember. I have to go back and look. But I will probably, as it looks like that line's come down a little bit from wherever it was, be throwing even more on her as we go through the week, especially if that continues to come down. Rosa is somebody that I think can be a problem in the whole division. She is ranked number 12 right now. She's 4-0 in the UFC, comes forward, has really strong kicks, solid hands, good takedown defense, which is going to be the absolute X factor for her in this fight. She's nasty in the clinch. Her knees in the clinch are incredible. She picks her shots well. She just seems big and strong. And there are often differences like that in MMA fights. And it seems like especially so to me, just watching with the eye in women's MMA, there are just certain women that are bigger and stronger, even though they're in the same weight class. And she seems to often be that woman in her fights. And I think that's something that's going to carry her upwards towards the top of the division. She's got some work to do to be a title contender, but I think she's obviously number 12 right now. I think she's going to continue to move up. Sarah McMann does one thing. She wrestles, period. End of story. That is her entire game. She's also 41 years old, and she has gas tank issues. So even if she's able to come out hard, possibly win the first round, I think Carol will take the next two and win the fight. So I'm going Rosa. I've bet her already. Looking at the line that's getting tighter, I'm actually surprised that it's getting tighter, and I'm going to be betting her more.
Yeah, for this one, when I was looking at the stats for this one, it showed why the line is the way it is. I mean, we're looking at 2.32 to 7.88 significant strikes landed per minute. And then you say, okay, let's look at the accuracy then. Well, Rosa's landing at a 54% accuracy, and Sarah's only landing at 45. All right. Now you look at takedowns. Yeah, Sarah's got the big takedown advantage of them. But then you look at the accuracy, they're pretty close. We're looking at 65 and 50. But here's the big difference about takedowns. Carol Rosa has 91% takedown accuracy. So the last time I saw something like this, well, I was so confident that someone who could wrestle would beat a striker, was Miss Jillian Robertson versus J.J. Aldrich. And so I look at something like this and I see takedown defense, 91%, against a wrestler. You know what? Maybe I need to take down that defense into consideration, because we know what happens when a wrestler can't get someone to the ground and they have to be in a striking match. We know how
Not
that plays
pretty.
out. And JJ had around the similar thing. She had like 71, 77% takedown defense, which again is very, very high. So the way McMann wins this is she can utilize the takedowns, get in early, get in dirty, make it a super disgusting, dirty fight. Just get it on the ground, get it bloody, get it moving her way. For Rosa, I think she has shown on film that she's a very technical striker and that she's very thought out well with her game plan. I know that she knows that that's what Sarah McMann is going to be doing. So I think she's going to be coming in with lots of counters and waiting for those shots. And I could see something ending with like just a knee to the face on a shot, or an uppercut on when Sarah comes in on a shot. I think they're drilling this. I think they know that McMahon's not gonna put this one on the feet, that she's going to try to take her shots. And I think that Carol and her team have been practicing those counters on the shots. And I think this is going to end. This could possibly again end with a finish. I'm really liking Carol Rosa too over here. Again, I think there's more value to McMann, but I feel confident that Rose is going to win this one. I know it's a super wide line. I still have to figure out where it fits into my betting strategies. My pick is for Rosa. I just haven't figured out where to place her into my bets. Again, for me, the way I gamble, and again, this is the way I gamble. I would not by any means follow this. Something like a minus 220. To me, I'm looking in how do I make that work with a parlay. Like we were saying the last couple weeks, me and Andrew have gone 8, 8, and 9 out of all the cards. So it's like 8 and 12, 8 and 13, and 9 and 12. So our biggest things, and we always talk about this every week, is if we could just figure out the 8s and the 9s and get those lined up on the right parlays, those would be some just big wins in themselves if we were to just pick that instead of just trying to go clean sweep. So for me, from a gambling standpoint, I see minus 220, and I see the film and I see the stats and I like the fighter. For me, I'm looking at how can I incorporate this into my, again, we're going in every week hoping we go, 13 for 13, 14 for 14. But realistically, we know that if we can sit somewhere between 5 to 8, that's a good win for us. It's just getting those 5 to 8 in the right matchups and the right lineups and the right parlays together. Again, like I said, I know I just sound like I know what I'm talking about. This is all, again, opinionated and how I like it. But for me, Karos is going to win. I just have to figure out what that parlay looks like.
So I don't know if this is going to show up well on the screen, but I did exactly what you're talking about. I went and I found the bet that I've already put in. That I think that's reading backwards. I'll just read it out here. So I did have Carol Rosa at minus 230. That's better than I had it in my head. I think I'm seeing the image of an 8 and a 3 in my head is similar. Anyway, and I parlayed her with Khizreiv at minus 355. So I've got the two of them in there. That was a 1 unit bet, I believe. Might have been whatever it took to win 1 unit, if that's slightly under plus 100. But yeah, I have Rosa in there already, parlayed with Khizreiv before Khizriev's line moved to minus 500. So feeling good about being a little ahead of that line move, and I like that bet quite a bit. And definitely like Rosa to roll here and keep moving on up.
Awesome. That's, again, our women's bantamweight, Sarah McMann versus Carol Rosa. To finish off our prelims, we have a welterweight matchup, which is crazy that this is finishing up prelims because this is definitely, to me,
should be on the main card.
And again, this is besides Manor Fiorot. This is probably the second fight that I'm most excited about on this card. But that is Mr. Neil Magny versus Max Griffin. Magny's coming in 25-9, and Max is coming in 18-8. This has all of the signs to be an absolute bloodbath war. Andrew, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I have a very strong opinion on this one. I already tweeted my bet on this one yesterday, I think it was. I've got Neil Magny in this one. I've got Neil Magny very confidently in this one. I've parlayed Neil Magny with Curtis Blaydes in the main event, and I put, I believe, 2.5 or a little over 2.5 units on that one. So a little bit bigger bet than normal. Um, Feeling very good about Neil Magny here for a variety of reasons. So Max Griffin is on a nice little win streak. He's got 3 wins in a row. That being said, his 3 wins are a little suspect. Carlos Condit, once upon a time, was an incredible UFC fighter. Might be a bit washed these days. He beat Kanan Song or Ms. Brahimaj. Not the most impressive wins of all time. Before that, against very solid competition, in his last 5 fights before his 3-fight win streak, he was 1-4. I'm just not sold that he is a guy that's at the same level as Neil Magny. You know, we talk about there are levels to this shit. It's true. I think Neil Magny's on a higher level. The guys fight very similarly. Neil Magny almost always has a reach advantage in his fights. He strikes incredibly well. He also grapples well, wrestles well. A difference in this one is Neil Magny has very strong cardio. He mixes his takedowns well. The strong cardio, to me, is going to be part of the difference in this fight. Griffin is 36 years old, like I mentioned. His boxing is okay. His wrestling is okay. But I think Magny's got him beat in both places. The one place I do think Griffin has an advantage is he has more power on the feet. He's much more likely to win by knockout than Magny is to me. Magny's more likely to win by volume, by mixing the takedowns at the appropriate times, and I think he does that, and I think he gets it done.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is like I said. I'm super excited for this one. Both are fighting out of Columbus, so this is this is the battle for Columbus right now. Again, I think Neil Magny's win against Jeff Neal over his last fight showed a lot in terms to me about why I actually don't think he's going to win this one. I think his right. I think Neil likes to have dirty fights, and I think he likes to invite to get into the clinch. And I think and again, the announcers were even saying during the fight, when Jeff was you know leaning against him and putting him against the cage, it's almost like Neil was encouraging that to happen, and getting ready to do a takedown, mix something in, or get a good elbow or knee in the clinch. I think Max's KO power that's inviting for a dangerous thing for Neil, and I think Max can make things just as dirty. Where I see Max winning this is I think he needs to keep a distance. I think he needs to press in the cage, but then get out. I don't think he needs to spend a lot of time there. I think if he does get this on the ground, I think it's, again, just to show he can put a takedown in, but don't live down there. Because like you said, I think Neil Magny, that's this type of stuff he wants. He wants it to be dirty. He wants it to be clinch. He wants it to be in his world. So Max has got to get in and out. I do like the way Max Griffin moves. I do think that Max has more KO power. Now, like you said, when I list the stats here, understand that this is definitely level of competition here, but still some things we talk about. Volume is being able something that's going to win this fight. Max Griffin has more volume. He's and again, not much, but it's enough of an advantage. We're looking at 3.6 versus 4.35 significant strikes landed per minute. But Max Griffin's coming in with a little bit higher accuracy on that, 49%. And again, not much. We're looking at 46% over at Neil Magny. So again, this isn't like big
Pretty similar.
differences. But when we talk about small advantages, and again, with a little bit of a skew, like Andrew said, level of competition, I do think that this is something that Max Griffin's, if he had a good camp and he has a good game plan, I see him really making a statement and really shocking a lot of people against a tough competitor in Neil Magny. But I don't think I'm not sitting over here like this is my lock of the week. As a bettor, I'm taking Griffin. And that's going to be my pick. And again, it's mostly because I think that he's got more of the knockout power. And that's what I like about Max. And I just like his fighting style. I like his aggressiveness. I think he just needs to control it. I just don't think he needs to get into Neil's world. I think he needs to take his shots, get in, get out, strike from distance, and then land that power KO if when he gets a shot.
Yeah. I mean, the earlier fight with Gutierrez, I think you convinced me. I think I'm pretty firm on my side, so we're going to be going head to head with this one.
Nice.
I like Neil Magny's length. I like the way he uses his length. I like how well-rounded he is.
Yep.
And I'm just not sold on Griffin. Like you said, to me, it would be a shock if he pulls this off.
Yeah, and that's why I definitely rooting for that. Awesome. Well, that's going to finish off our prelims. Neil Magny versus Max Griffin in a welterweight matchup. Before we get to our main card, we're just going to take a quick word from our sponsor again, Can Shoot Productions, for all your video and videography needs over in Fort Myers, Florida. If you need any type of video shot, again, from food trucks to real estate to weddings and commercials, this guy can do it all. My little brother. So shout out Cam Wallace, Can Shoot Productions. Hit him up on Facebook if you're looking for a video need. And we'll be right back with our main card, UFC Fight Night, Columbus, Daukaus versus Blaydes, Columbus, Ohio, right after this. All right, and welcome back to Knockout Bets Podcast by Recliner Sports Report. I'm Mac, and with me is Andrew, and we are going to break down your main card for UFC Fight Night, Columbus, Daukaus versus Blaydes. Our first fight on this main card, we have a lightweight matchup against Mark Diakese versus Diakese versus Vyacheslav Borshchev. Diakese's coming in at 14-5, and Borshchev is coming in at 6-1. Awesome start to the card. Andrew, give me your thoughts on this one.
It definitely is an awesome start to the card. Slava, which is easier for me to pronounce than Vyacheslav, I'm going to call him Slava, has 6 wins. He's 6-1. He's got 5 by KO TKO. He's a striker, finisher, goes to the liver with punches well. His kicks are crisp and clean. There are 2 things that I underlined about him. He hits hard. There are certain guys that it just looks like there's something extra in the fist when it hits, like that little bolt of lightning, and he's got that. He has really good footwork, good movement. The other thing that I underlined on my notes is his takedown defense is suspect. That being said, he does scramble well, as he showed in his fight against Dakota Bush, getting taken down, scrambling, and ultimately getting the finish with the shot to the liver there. Diakese was a big prospect when he came into the UFC, and it hasn't quite worked out for him thus far. However, he's still only 29 years old, so it's not like this is a guy that's old and washed. He has KO power. He has a good get-up game when he does get taken down. He has decent takedowns himself. Probably has kicking advantage in this fight. Slava definitely has the hands for sure. But Diakese also hung in with Rafael Fiziev, who is probably one of the better strikers in the entire UFC. And so for he didn't win the fight, but for him to hang in the way he did with Fiziev was impressive. Diakese has also never been knocked out, which I think is important to mention in this fight. That being said, I believe it was his most recent fight. He got submitted. The beginning of the end was a shot. So it's not that he's never been touched. I am so torn on this fight. I have not put a bet in on it yet. I think this is a total dog or pass spot for me. I'm either going to end up with going with Diakese, or I'm going to end up passing on this fight altogether. I do think Slava has a chance for a knockout here, of course. But I also think if Diakese comes with the wrestling, I think he can hang with him on enough on the feet to not get touched with that death punch. And if he can take him down and get control time, I think it's a path for him to win the fight. So I don't have a bet yet. I'm leaning Diakese. Diakese is going to be my pick for picking purposes. I'll put it on Twitter if I get to the book with a bet for this one. But I'm a little torn on this one so far.
I think the one thing Diakese's got going for him is that Slava's first name is not Raphael. With both of Diakese's last two fights coming to Rafael Alves and Rafael Fiziev. I think you're right. I think Diakese has shown a lot in film. I think he's shown a lot that he can strike and hang. But I look at someone like Slava, and I look at six wins, 5 knockouts. One was over Chris Duncan in his UFC or in his Dana White Contender Series, and then his UFC debut goes and hits a KO too. So he went KO to get the contract,
body shot,
and then KO to again prove why he got the contract. I like this guy. This is also interesting. This is American Top Team versus Team Alpha Male. A little bit of, I know those two have some rivalry in those gyms. I look at the stats on this one, and there's just everything, like you said, it's going Slava's way, except you brought up a really good point. The takedown defense is suspect, and it shows on the stats. He's looking at 33% against Diakese, sitting at 62%. So that's a big reason why I'm not 100% confident in my pick. I do feel that there are ways for Diakese to come and win this. I am going to pick Slava. I'm going, again, this is another one of my potential KOs. For me, when I look at something like this, I have to go off the stats, and I have to go off of what I've seen on film with power. And man, he's got some dangerous thunders in his fist. So I'm going Slava, and again, I think it could be a possible knockout. I have not put any bets on this yet. Again, minus 165, as I was mentioning earlier, that's still one of my ones where I have to work it into a parlay. But the value, as a gambler, the value is definitely more on Diakese's side because he does have a really good chance of winning this. And plus, I'm seeing at plus 140 now. I know if you can get anything over plus 150, you should feel confident with that bet. And again, because I'm going to have to be able to put Slava into something where it potentially has to be 2 fights to win, get a payout on that. So, but my pick is for Slava, and I think it's going to be possibly by KO.
I like it. Head to head again. Let's go.
Let's go. All right. That was Mark Diakese versus Slava. Again, in our first event on the main event card. Next up, we have 2 gentlemen that are some big boys in the heavyweight division. This is Ilir Latifi versus Oleski, the boa constrictor, Oleinik. I'm always excited when I see Oleinik fighting. That man just never goes away. I I did the research just because I had to. I already knew what I was going to bet, and I know I'm super crazy. But Andrew, give us a rundown. What do you got for this one?
Yeah, I think just based on what you said there, we're gonna end up head to head on the pick again.
But this one is not research based. This is a fan bet. I will give you the research why I do think it could show, but I'm definitely betting as a fan for this one.
All right. Yeah, no, as a fan, I want to see Oleinik win too. He's 44 years old. The fact that he's still in the UFC, he is on a 3-fight losing streak. I think if he loses here, and
Oh,
especially
this
if
is it.
he loses in an ugly way,
Even if he
he's
wins, this is it.
probably done.
It's
Um,
100% his last fight. I mean, I
and
could see him coming back, but I have a hard feeling that this could be the last one, no matter
I
what.
don't know. He locks up some kind of crazy Ezekiel choke who might see him again if he wins. If he loses, I think it's on to whatever the next thing is. I don't even know. I mean, at 44 years old, I don't know if he's even going to like the
Eagle FC.
Bellator Senior Tour or
He's
anything
going
like
to
that.
Eagle FC with Khabib. Khabib will have
There you go.
him.
So as we mentioned, Oleinik is 44 years old. His gas tank is so suspect. He can fight hard for a round. I know he went to decision in his last fight and looked okay. I, I I'm suspect if he can go more than a hard round, especially if it ends up being a wrestling grappling type first round where it's heavy on the cardio. Latifi is definitely the better wrestler of the two. That being said, of course, we all know Alexei Oleinik has submissions from anywhere and everywhere. Uh, Latifi, though, on the other hand, has never been submitted in his UFC or in his entire professional career.
He also has 100% takedown defense, mind you, too. By the way,
Exactly. So that's going to be tricky for Oleinik. Um, Latifi doesn't have pretty boxing by any means, but he definitely hits hard. And Oleinik has showed that he can be knocked out. Uh, this is a possible knockout bet for me tonight. Uh, that all being said, my pick is Latifi. I don't trust Latifi with my money. I don't feel good enough about Oleinik to trust him with my money. This is going to be a pass from a betting perspective, but picking Latifi for the pick.
um, no, and again, I think you're bringing up all really, really valid arguments. And again, like you were saying, when you talk about the way I see Oleinik winning this is by a submission, and then you're looking at someone who has 100% takedown defense. Um, where I'm seeing the possible submission is he's definitely going to be on his back and he's going to be in something. He's going to get to it. But this is how I also see the fight playing off. I see Oleinik on his back trying to throw submissions and it goes all 3 rounds, and that we just look at those two guys just Latifi laying on him and Oleinik trying to win by just a submission any means necessary. You look at the stats, and honestly, the weird part is they're both pretty even. They have their flaws here and there, so it's not even really much to judge at. I think the only one to note is just the defense for the takedowns. I think when you're talking about Oleinik's, really his only path to victory is a submission, and you're talking about someone who's really decent on the ground. That makes your route to winning even slimmer. But I'm going with Oleinik because sometimes the stars just align, and I would hate to see the guy go out on a loss. I don't want to see that happen to him. I thought he showed a lot of heart versus last fight versus Spivak, because I thought for sure that he shouldn't have even been in that fight to begin with. But he was, and then he ended up actually giving me a scare. I had Spivak. And I didn't feel confident going into the card under the judges' scorecard on that. I thought I might have lost. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Oleinik. I'm gonna bet Oleinik. I think the line I'm looking at right now is plus 160. Hoping it goes up a little bit more. I know the boa constrictor is a fan favorite. I'm waiting to see what movement direction it goes. I want to take it at a higher than 160. If I can get this closer to like 180, 190, I'm throwing money all over that one. Just as again, I'll probably throw like a unit on that. Won't include them in any parlays or anything like that, but I'm definitely probably gonna just throw just a unit on that, just to throw a potential something at an upset with there, and then hopefully give a swan song for the big guy on his way out.
So Oleinik by sub to the only line that I'm seeing at the moment is plus 340 by sub. So that might be a way to go too,
Yep.
rather than just to take the money line if you're going that way.
Awesome. That was our heavyweight on the main card, Latifi versus Oleinik. Next up, we have a flyweight bout against two brawlers. We have Askarov, 14-0 versus Kai Kara France, 23-9. Kaya France is coming off an electric finish against Mr. Cody Garbrandt. Andrew, talk to us about that. What are your thoughts for this one?
Yeah, Askarov is 14-0. He has one draw. I think I'm popping it up here. Yes, I am correct. His one draw was against Brandon Moreno. I want to see them run that back.
Especially now.
Yes, and there is a clear path to that happening. They just recently booked Moreno Figueiredo 4. Super pumped for that one. First time that two guys have ever fought 4 times in the UFC, but they're 1-1-1. It totally makes sense.
And what two guys better off than those two entertaining guys?
Right, and they've put on 3 great fights already. And
actually, something you bring up there. Both have fights against Moreno, Kai Kara, and Askarov. So that's right. An interesting look at this.
Common opponent.
Yep.
Yeah. And so the clear path to that happening is Askarov winning this fight, and then obviously Moreno's got to beat Figueiredo, and who knows what's going to happen there. We'll get into that when we break down that card. But I do have Askarov in this one. I have bet him already. I probably will bet him more in parlays. Askarov to me is almost like mini Colby Covington. Kind of. His wrestling and grappling is amazing, and he also uses his striking really well to set up his takedowns and set up his wrestling. He's no slouch on the feet. Everybody talks about him as a wrestler grappler, which is definitely his primary skill in MMA, but his striking is underrated. He also has good body kicks, and I just see him being able to close the distance on Kai Kara France. Kai Kara France does have solid takedown defense, but Askarov is just such a grinder, chain wrestler type guy that I see him being able to get it to the mat, possibly being able to get a submission, being good enough on the feet to not get starched by Kai Kara France. I love Kai Kara France. I'm a huge fan of him. I would love to see him win this fight. I just can't do it from a betting perspective. I think this is Askarov all day. I've bet it already, and depending where the line goes, we'll probably throw it in more parlays as the week goes on.
Well, I wish you best of luck, sir, because I am going the opposite direction.
Let's go. What does that make? 3 for 3 on the main card?
Yeah, right. I'm going just strictly off the fact that he had back-to-back KOs first rounds. Cody Garbrandt, who has, a great track record, great opponent. I know he's lost a couple ones on his last way out, but I think that was a big statement win that he had against him. And then his other one against Rodrigo Bantrini. Again, he's got 11 KOs, 3 submissions. This guy, I love watching him fight. I love the energy.
Fun to watch.
I love the energy he brings. Again, I look at the volume he has, slight advantage on significant strikes landed per minute. He's looking at 5 to Askarov's got 3. Accuracy, Askarov also but does have like a 15% advantage over France. I do think Kai needs to keep this thing on the feet. We're looking at a guy who is averaging 3 takedowns a fight. And again, that's only because some of the fights have ended. So
Right.
that,
Sometimes all you need is one.
you know what I'm saying? So that's a little skewed, but he does a lot with his takedowns when he does get on top. I do think the one thing Kai's got going for him is, you're right, his takedown defense is actually really high. It's 87% compared to Askarov's 64%. Now, I wouldn't be going and testing Askarov's takedown defense if I was Kai Car-France. I would not be doing that at all. I would be keeping this on the feet, and I would, like I said earlier in this podcast, kick, 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 kick. Kai needs to mix in those kicks, keep him at bay, anticipate the shots. I hope he's been practicing in this camp, that Askarov's definitely going to try to level change and work in something, because we know he's better in that area than Kai Kara-France. So I hope Kai's got some good counters lined up and ready to go. This is definitely going to be a brawl for Kai Kara-France. This is not an easy win by any means. I am strictly taking it because plus 250 against, I think this line is super wide, so I'll take it on the other end. I do think that this is going to be close. I mean, we're talking about a 14-0 fighter whose one draw is to a former champion, and I think that's something to really say about this fighter and Askarov and what he's done. But all good things must come to an end. So I'm taking Kai
And
Kara-France for
Askarov
my
has
pick.
other good wins
Yep.
too. I mean, he beat Joe Benavidez.
Tim Elliott.
Can't remember off the
Tim
top of my head.
Elliott.
Right, Tim Elliott.
Yep.
Speaking of the devil, he beat Pantoja.
Yep.
That's an impressive win. He's got some good wins on his record.
He's got some great wins. He's a good fighter. But sometimes all good things must come to an end. So I'm riding with Kai Kara-France on this one.
All right.
That was Askarov versus Kai Kara-France in the flyweight bout. Next up, our feature event, we have the immortal Matt Brown, 25-18, versus Brian Bam Bam Barberena, 16-8 in a welterweight matchup. Go ahead, Andrew. Start us off. What are we thinking for this one?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun fight to watch. These guys are both bangers. They're both veterans of the UFC, veterans of MMA. I don't think this deserves to be the featured bout, given some of the other fights that are on this card. However, I do think it's going to be a very, very fun fight to watch. They're both, as I said, savages, entertaining fighters. Brown, 41 years old, so he better be immortal in this fight, coming in as the older guy. I think I might have heard or saw somewhere that this might be a retirement fight for him. I'm not 100% sure on that, but at 41, that's always a question. He's got good kickboxing. One of the things about Matt Brown that's really interesting is the elbows he throws. He has an elbow finish in one of his recent fights and throws elbows frequently. He's decent on the ground. He's got KO power. Barberena is well-rounded too. He has volume more than power. I'm not sold on Barberena, so I'm taking Matt Brown not super confidently. It's probably going to end up being a small bet straight on Matt Brown. I don't have one in yet, but that's where I'm heading, I believe.
Yeah, well, all good things must come to an end. We're agreeing on this one. But I am agreeing for a little bit different reasons. I look at things like his accuracy. He's a little bit more accurate. He's got a little bit more takedowns for fighting, and his defense for the takedowns is a little bit better. So I do think, and again, when you're talking about a guy who's had so many fights, that makes sense. The other thing that stands out to me is, of his 25 wins, 23 are by finish. So this guy has some power. He's got 16 KOs. That to me right there. And again, why he's Mr. Immortal. This guy's been around. He knows how to finish fighters, and he's put on some highlight reel level finishes. I also think his 4-inch. This is interesting. Okay, he has a 4-inch leg reach advantage.
That is interesting.
5-inch reach on the arm, or no, about 2.5 inch arm reach. but a 4-inch leg reach. A little bit interesting there. But what I like about this is I do think Matt, I think he's whatever game plan he comes in with is the right one. I think someone who's fought that many fights, they know they've done the camp, they've done the training, they have a plan for Bam Bam. Whatever it is, I think he just needs to stick to it, and I think he's going to have to understand Bam Bam's definitely going to have some shots off the rip. So Matt's going to have to definitely adjust and calculate and take in some information off the first minute. But Matt can't be spending this fight delayed and waiting and countering. Matt's got to put the pressure on him. Matt needs to get in, like you said, throw those nasty elbows, mix in the kicks, use that reach advantage to his own advantage, and I hope he comes away with the win. I love the line is at a -110, and I like you said, it's a pick 'em is what I'm seeing it right now.
Right.
So I'm definitely for my coin flip, my pick 'em. Actually, I feel more confident than a coin flip. I do feel confident with betting the Immortal. I hope if this is his last fight, I hope he can go away with a win. He deserves it. He's a great fighter. I love everything about him. He's a true legend in the UFC, and I hope we can go out on a good note because I'll be rooting for you.
Yeah, and last point on this one, talking about not being sold on Barberena. So he does have a win in his last fight over Darian Weeks, who probably is not a long-term UFC caliber fighter. Looking back from that, he lost to Jason Witt. That's not a great loss. He beat Anthony Ivy, who I believe is no longer in the UFC. Lost 3 out of 4 before that, and you're getting even pretty far back where those don't matter. Getting back 5 years ago, lost to Leon Edwards 5 years ago. He has Colby Covington on his record, also a loss. But those are getting too far back to count. I mean, he's 2-3 in his last 5 that are in recent years, and the 2 wins that he has are not the highest quality wins.
That was Matt the Immortal Brown versus Brian Bam Bam Barberena. Next up in our co-main event, we have Joanne Wood, 15-7, versus Alexa Grasso, 13-3, in a women's flyweight matchup. Andrew, what's your take on this one?
Well, depending where you landed on this one, we might be going back to going head-to-head on this main card, which we've done a lot, and I like. Wood is 2-4 in her last 6, but if you look at who her losses are to, it's Talia Santos, who under the radar, definitely to casual fans. I mean, people who know, but under the radar to casual fans is incredibly good. She's also lost to Lauren Murphy, Jennifer Maia, and Caitlin Chikagian. Those are all quality fighters that she's lost to. Calderwood, I called her Calderwood. She's named Wood now. She married John Wood, who's the coach at Syndicate MMA. Stumble over that one, so excuse me if I call her Calderwood. Joanne Wood, strong kickboxing, uses her kicks very well, especially to the body. Her clinch game is strong. She's probably going to have a little bit more volume and output than Grasso. Grasso has really good boxing and solid takedown defense. Those are her things to write home about. Again, similar to the Diakese fight, I don't have a bet on this one yet. I'm not sold on Alexa Grasso. She has a win over Macy Barber, who we're starting to find out maybe isn't what we thought she was. I'm very torn on this one, and I'm leaning to this being a dog or pass spot for me, where I'm either going to get to the book and put a bet on Joanne Wood around plus 200. I think that's a good number in this fight. Or I may end up just completely passing on this one.
When we are disagreeing, but when you look at all the stats on this, it's all leaning towards Joanne Wood. Like you said, level of competition. We're even talking about significant strikes landed per minute. She's got more of. She's got better accuracy. She's got higher takedown. She's got higher takedown accuracy, and she's even got 3%, but still better. She's got better takedown defense. Everything on the board, she is better in. What I see in Alexa Grasso, and you talk about level of victory, again, she's been in the ring with Esparza. She's been in the ring with Jeon Kim, and she's been in the ring with Macy Barber, all of which are great fighters. So proving that she can be in there with the toughest of them all. I do think Joanne Wood is
Kolkevich, too, is on her record.
Yep, I think Joanne Wood is the next big test to someone who is on the rise. We're talking a number 7 versus a number 11. This is for, essentially to get in the top 10 and to break into it. And this is the fight she needs to win. This is the fight that Dana White would say is the one that is the reason why I signed you into the UFC, because I knew you were going to move up the rankings and, create highlights and generate excitement. So she needs to win. She needs to stay on the feet. This is her other key to victory. She really needs to up the volume. She's a little bit behind on the significant strikes landed per minute, and that's because if Joanne Wood ups the volume and applies the pressure and leads the dance, she will win this fight because she's shown that she knows what she's doing in that department. So Grasso needs to apply the pressure. She needs to change those stats there and have more significant strikes landed. She's going to have to go in dirty. She can't just sit back and counter all day against Joanne Wood. Joanne's going to pick her apart. That's just the truth of it. Again, this is all the stats. This is all from film. It all matches up. I am shocked that the line is too wide. I will not be betting this, but I am picking Grasso to win, but I'm not going to bet a line that's that wide, especially when we're looking at things on the stat wise that is leaning so far the other way.
And women's MMA fights often end up being close and going to the judges' scorecard too. That's why, to me, it's dog or pass.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I am going to pick Grasso as my official pick.
I like it.
All right, that was Joanne Wood and Alexa Grasso in our flyweight women's event. All right, this is interesting. This next fight. Our main event. And it's interesting because we have two big gentlemen who have done so much in the UFC, but has just kind of been forgotten about because of all the crazy stuff that has recently just happened in that division. But you forget that both of these guys are also in the talk, right? Like, again, we're talking about a stout division in a division that anything happens, one shot could go your way and we're ending, saying your whole career is changing. And we got Curtis Blaydes versus Chris Daukaus in a men's heavyweight event. Blaydes is 15-3. Daukaus is 12-4. Again, both are savages. Both have a great resume. Both have fought great competition. Andrew, what are your thoughts on this one?
Both have gotten starched by Derek Lewis.
just something.
No,
these are just the facts.
Fight, but
these are just the facts.
Yeah, I have a very strong opinion on this one. I already tweeted out my bet. I've got Curtis Blaydes in a parlay with Neil Magny, 2.5 units. I think that I'm very excited about the future for Chris Daukaus, and I think that a combination of him being too good against guys that were good matchups for him and the UFC pushing him a little too far too fast has jumped him up in competition too quickly. I mean, if you look at, he obviously had 4 knockout wins in a row, which got him the fight with Derek Lewis in the first place. But if you look at who he beat Parker Porter. Okay. He beat Nascimento by knockout. Nascimento is a primary grappler, so knocking him out, okay. Knocked out Alexei Oleinik, who we already talked about earlier on this card. And then he knocked out Shamil who was on the card against Pavlovich last week, whose last name I can't pronounce, but who is 40 years old, was I think 39 at the time of the fight. So you go, not to take anything away from that, having 4 knockout wins in the heavyweight division in the UFC is incredibly impressive. And for all 4 of those, he was still working full time as a police officer. He quit his job right before the Derek Lewis fight. He's like, "Oh, I've won a few fights in a row by knockout. I've got Derek Lewis, a top 10 guy in the UFC. I guess I'm going to take this seriously now." And you saw he even came into that fight in better shape than you'd ever seen him before. And I think he'll continue probably to improve his conditioning. I do think he has obviously a striking advantage in this fight. Obviously a speed advantage with the hands on the feet. I don't think he has the power. I mean, anytime you talk about like a knockout artist against a grappler, the first thing I think of is the uppercut that Derek Lewis gave Curtis Blaydes. Like exhibit 1A of how to win by knockout against the wrestlers when he's diving at the legs, that uppercut that Lewis threw on Blaydes in their fight. That's always the image that comes to mind for me. I don't know that Daukaus has, even though he has 4 wins by knockout, I don't know that he has the power to be able to replicate that. I see this very much going Curtis Blaydes' way by grinding, by wrestling, by pushing up against the cage. We also haven't seen Daukaus on the ground. We haven't seen him in a long, dragged-out fight. If this gets to the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, we don't know what Daukaus's cardio is going to be like, even though it does seem like he's coming in better shape than he has for his past fights, kind of taking this a little bit more seriously now. All that being said, Daukaus does have a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he has some ground skills. We haven't seen them in his fights yet because he's knocked everybody out. So that will be a really interesting aspect of this fight for me. I think it's a matter of when, not if. When Curtis Blaydes gets this fight to the ground, how does Daukaus do fighting off his back? How does he scramble? How does he handle those transitions? That's going to be an interesting part of this to me. But I do see Daukaus. I do see Blaydes grinding on him, wrestling, possibly getting a finish by submission or ground and pound in the later 3rd, 4th, or 5th round, if not just grinding its way all the way to a decision, 5 rounds. And
yeah,
the last point I have is Blaydes has 3 losses. His 3 losses are to Francis Ngannou, and Derek Lewis, the guys with the heaviest of heavy hands. And I just don't think Daukaus has that.
Well, I couldn't disagree with you anymore. We're talking about a man who has 11 KOs out of his 12 wins. Chris Daukaus has power, and he has lots of power. And the other thing he has lots of is volume. And again, it's mostly because when you look at the two, yes, Curtis is definitely more of a. I mean, when you look at the ground game, he's got 6 takedowns per fight to 0 for Daukaus. So as much as there's a significance on the ground, there's another big significance on those significant strikes landed, with 7 for Daukaus and 3 for Curtis Blaydes. And he's throwing at a high accuracy, 53%. What I do like about him, again, this is mostly just because not a lot of people have shot on him, but he's got 100% takedown defense. So when we talk about someone who is definitely going to come in and shoot and definitely try to get this on the ground, Curtis needs to do that to win. 100% agreed. Like you had mentioned earlier, I see that in my mind of what we knew he needed to do to beat Lewis and how wide that line was, because I remember taking Lewis and he was about a plus 250 going into that fight because everyone thought Lewis can't wrestle. He's going to Blaydes is going to do the same thing that DC did to him, just take him to the mat and submit him and win. And bang, right off the rip, boom. So I think the keys to victory for Curtis: he needs to get this thing to the mat. He needs to be careful. He needs to be methodical about it, and he needs to time it up right. And then when he is on top, he needs to use that weight, which, again, we all know in the heavyweight division, when you end up on bottom, no matter how good you are. It's just a lot of weight. We're talking about a lot of weight you have to get off you. So if he can find a way to the ground and keep the weight on him, he's gonna have a nice victory. But I'm going with Chris because I think if he can, what I like about him, we talk about these heavyweight guys being able to mix it up and be able to mix things up and go and be able to throw kicks, throw knees, throw elbows in and out, having lots of volume. I really think that Chris is going to end up winning this thing, and I'm hoping it's by a knockout. I think that's his really only path to victory. I see this fight playing. If it's going the distance, it's because Curtis has gotten on top of him and has sat on him for the whole fight. And that's I also see that very much having. I could also see this potential being a snooze fest. Or I could see this thing ending quick. I really don't know. The heavyweight. It is so hard to tell. You don't really ever know with these guys. But I don't know if Curtis is going to come in with all right, I don't want to get knocked out game plan. So he's just going to stick to I'm going to take my shot when I can. I'm not going to go in crazy. I'm going to take it the correct way. And I'm just going to get him on the ground. I'm going to grind this out and hopefully get a submission, but be okay with top position and just some elbows. But I could also see Chris Daukaus, doing some slick boxing and slick striking, keeping this on the feet, grinding it out, avoiding the takedowns, and getting in with some dirty elbows and the clinch too. So I definitely think this might probably – you can't ever tell, and I hate saying with the heavyweights, it's the dumbest thing ever. I could see this, though, going over. I don't know what the over-under rounds are currently right now, but if it was anything, if it's like 2.5, I would definitely feel like the over is the way to go. If it's 3, 3.5, I might start going the other way. But anything
you can get over 2.5 at about -118.
Okay, so that's yeah, and I feel that's about right. But like I just said, I could also see this thing ending in the first round. You don't ever know with the big boys. But my pick and my bet, and I will be taking a bet, but it's I'm also throwing it in a lottery, but I'm definitely taking Chris Daukaus on this one. I hope he can get it done. I do like his style. I do agree. I think you look at the resume of Blaydes, and he's fought some dudes. But I think it's Chris Daukaus' turn, and we look a lot about this, and we're seeing a lot of it as these big boys are coming back around for each other, right? Sometimes it's just the next person's turn, and this again, like we were saying earlier, it's the way the stars align. I think this is Chris Daukaus' entrance into the discussion on what is next for this guy, and he's going to move up the rankings on this one.
I like it. So 5 out of the 6 fights on the main card, we have opposite picks.
And I'm almost positive we were like 6 for 6 agreeing last week. So this will be one of us is going to have a good week.
Yeah. You hope so. Or we're both going to break even.
Oh, wow. Man, I've never been so – all right, so we told you last week when we were agreeing that I swear we don't talk to each other before about our picks.
You can see it now.
This just proves we literally – we're so not in line with anything here. Oh, this
we both
is gonna
have
be
Matt Brown.
Oh, yeah. Hey, the immortal, baby. I love him. Let's go. Watch, that'll be the only one we get wrong, too. All right, so that was our heavyweight bout, Curtis Blaydes versus Chris Daukaus. The UFC Fight Night, Columbus, Ohio. Nationwide arena. Super pumped for Columbus, Ohio. I'm glad you all get to get a fight. To all my Columbus friends, if you are there, make sure to shout out Recliner Sports Report. Again, go give us a follow on Twitter. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Recliner_report. Give us a follow, give us a like. Go on our YouTube channel, hit like and subscribe. It would mean a whole lot to us. Now we're gonna move into our knockout bets of the week and what our lottery tickets are. So I will turn it over to you, Andrew, for your knockout picks, since you are now 3 for 3.
3 for 3 on the show so far, man. If I'm being honest, I cheated a little bit last week. I took Pavlovich by knockout, which was minus 185 to hit by knockout, but it did keep the streak alive. It did happen. That's 3 for 3. Got to be happy about that. There's only one that I mentioned as we talked through the card, so that's got to be it, because it was the only one that appeared to me as we talked it through. So it's got to be Latifi by knockout this week.
Dang. You're going to put Oleinik out like that, huh? Just send the guy home. Knocked out. Wow. Whoa. All right. I unfortunately, I had a lot of picks for knockouts, but the one I rode with was Patty, so I'm living on that one. I'm dying on that one, but it doesn't matter. He still got the finish. He still won me money. I love you, Patty. I knew you were going to have a finish. I was just hoping for another knockout because I wanted to see Barstool put that on a T-shirt so I could buy that. But my knockout for this week, I'm going with my girl, Manon Fiorot. I think she's gonna get it done. And if I'm gonna take it a step further, I'm gonna say second round. At least by the second round, she's gonna have a finish. All right. I'll start us off for the lottery because this one's cool.
Go for
Now,
it.
mostly when you talk about lottery tickets, usually you have to get like 8 to 9 fights to get some really, really crazy odds. This is a 3-fighter. Okay, this is a 3-fight lottery ticket. Why I love this even more is because there's only 3 things that have to happen. All right, three fights, not the whole 8, and you ride it. Like, there are 3 fights, all of which are kind of separated throughout the card too. So if they all hit, it'll be a nice little time for me to mix and weave in some stuff if I need to. But it's coming out to plus 1,300. All right, and I'm taking Kai, Fiorot, and Daukaus, parlaying those 3 together. That's my lottery ticket of the week. Again, not very many times you see a 3-fighter that gets you that many high odds. Again, bet responsibly. Don't be going and throwing your rent on this one. But I will be definitely putting 1 unit on there. I already did put 1 unit on for plus 1,300. I'm super excited for it. Again, it's plus 1,300. Of course, it's very rarely not going to happen. But I like all 3 of these fighters. I have all 3 of these fighters that I will be taking by themselves. So if I can cheat the system and get one on a plus 1,300 altogether, I'm definitely pulling the trigger, and it's just 1 unit. So I'll die on that hill and I'll be okay. What do you got?
Well, I have a lot of bets in, but I don't have a lottery ticket prepared, but I'll go off the cuff like I did last week with something sort of like I might end up with. In a lottery ticket, I'm going to have Dvorak in there because that's lined closely enough, even though he's a small favorite, to bump the odds good for a lottery ticket bet. Gutierrez would be in a lottery ticket for me, and then I think the other 2 have to be the spots where I was talking about Dogger Pass. It's got to be Diakese and Wood. If we're going lottery ticket, we'll go those 4 together. I don't know what that adds up to. I haven't bet that. I will put in a lottery ticket bet, and I'll tweet it out later in the week at recliner_report. Follow us there. We put a good amount of our bets there through the week and dump a whole bunch of them on Friday night or Saturday leading into the fights.
All right. Well, once again, this is Mac and Andrew, and we are the Knockout Bets podcast by Recliner Sports Report. If you've made it to this part of the show, thank you so much for your support. We really, really appreciate it. I can't wait to continue this journey with all of you. Smash that like and subscribe. Also, please feel free to give us a share too. And if you have any type of like sports media or sports news, tweet at us, put us on Facebook, comment on the channel, whatever opinions you guys have and girls have about sports, let us know. We'd love to socialize and engage. This is social media, so being able to just socialize in this community. We've definitely already, like, the interactions that I've had with other users in the community, it's been nothing but positive, even when you're disagreeing and stuff like that. So, shout out to this whole, especially the MMA and sports betting communities. It's been a fun ride. This is something I know me and Andrew talk about, we love and we enjoy. So being able to be around other people that love and enjoy it too, it's super fun. It makes for an interesting day. I know it keeps me grinding. So thank you for all your love and support. And until next time, keep the change.
Keep the change.